Guten Nacht. I'm Stash, graduate of Miskatonic University. Miskatonic? I don't know. The Lovecraft thing. How you doing, guys? Stash, the semi-intellectual, on tonight for some basic Martin Heidegger talk. This is the first one of this I'm going to do. If you've been to Harvard or Yale and you're a philosophy major, fuck off. But come on in, jump in, and show me what you got. Anybody who left who likes to read in bus stations and coffee places and McDonald's and on the street. And I love that kind of philosopher as well. Talking Martin Heidegger tonight. I know you are all dying to do that. And I'm looking forward to the Immanuel Kant chat after that. So what's going on? What is going on? So Heidegger is extremely complex. People think they know Heidegger and Hegel. I don't think they do, especially the conspiracy guys with their problem reaction solution, the Hegelian dialectic. You guys know who I'm talking about because this is a weird channel. Anybody out there, get in the chat. So, yeah, and then if anybody jumps in, I'm willing to talk about other stuff, but I'm trying to go into it. So I don't mislead you, just as a disclaimer, I am not a philosopher. I'm just a man who loves people. If we had to be serious, I'll be as serious as I can and start off quick. Oh my God, we're already 2:11. I haven't said anything. So, excuse me. God bless me. Martin Heidegger's most serious contribution is probably to his Dasein. 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 That is his contribution. The essence of it. Dasein. Dasein. We're going to be basic, okay? We're going to be basic. That is the essence. It's the essence. What is his huge contribution? Heidegger used the expressive Dasein, D-A-S-E-I-N, okay, to refer to the experience of being that is particular to human beings. Thus, it is a form of being that is aware of and must confront such issues as personhood, mortality, and the dilemma or paradox of living in relationship with other humans, but ultimately being alone with oneself. So I'm going to put that in here. This is from Google, which is trading at $2,224 a share, something like that. Anybody out there? Jeez. Let's talk Heidegger tonight. Let me see if I can get some listeners. Okay, so having a world is indispensable to existing as Dasein. Dasein transcends, depends on time. Okay, both. The History and Concept of Time by T. Kisel is a great book to understand Heidegger's time aspect. Heidegger, like Immanuel Kant, Heidegger read Critique of Pure Reason, and Henry Kissinger wrote a huge paper on it to get a PhD. He was an expert in Kant, or expert-like in Kant. But similar to Kant, Heidegger was a man of the rural life, my friends. this life of living in the rural areas isolated him from the cosmopolitan living. Allegedly, and it's been said that Heidegger was not a huge fan of the cosmopolitan urban life. He was distrustful, allegedly, of technology. Indeed. And thus, that's where he comes from. Perhaps he was able to contemplate better on his philosophy. He asked the question, what are the limits of technology? Just like Jacques Ellul propaganda, which I think I'll do a thing on him. I hope people like my basic YouTubes about this stuff. At the very least, I'm not a professor, so I'm not going to get above 200 bloody hits. But, however, I may get you interested in this topic. So the logic of philosophy in Heidegger's kind of opinion, if you're looking at this is a very basic Heidegger talk. He said he basically, if I could put this easily, he wasn't a fan, from what I could gather, of a bunch of fancy talk. Okay, despite being a big philosopher. He wasn't overly concerned when contemplating philosophy to be, I mean, I'm sure he was, in writing, use correct grammar or etymology, which is a very sort of sophisticated word for the study of words, to the best of my knowledge. He was more like, get to the essence. Understand time, understand the essence of things. He was pro the ordinary to contemplate. So the philosopher must move from that area. He was interested in the full and concrete historical self or essence of people. The primordial. Why can't I say primordial? Experience, the essence of things. He was not into the a priori, to my knowledge, although that was necessary. He wanted to understand existence for what it is. The mystery of being for human beings was interesting. The self-evidence. Dasein, S-E-I-N, being, equals in Deutsch, S-E-I-N. So the business of the philosopher isn't, fantasy or fancy or bullshit or putting on ways or narcissistic, if you will. It is the essence. What is self-evident? What is self-evident? What the philosopher should start from ground. The philosopher's ground zero point is working from the observable. The observable. Very interesting, and yet not existential. Let me look up this book by this other guy. To understand the time aspect. History of the concept of time. Oh, okay. Well, I get mixed up. That is, apologize, that is Heidegger's book. It was translated by a K-I-S-I-E-L. Okay. That's the name of the person that translated. Heidegger's History of the Concept of Time is a compilation of Heidegger's lecture notes from a 1925 course taught at the University of Marburg. These lectures cover much the same ground as articulated in Being of Time. So that would be before that. Time itself is actually the earliest known measurement of time began actually with the ancient Egyptians prior to 1500 BC. However, the time that Egyptians measured was not the same as the time today's clocks measure. For the Egyptians, and indeed for a further 3 millennia, the basic unit of time was a period of daylight. So, the concept of time may come from the wise people of Egypt. The concept of time is self-evident. An hour consists of a certain amount of minutes, a day of hours, a year of days, but we rarely think about the fundamental nature of time. Time is represented through change, such as circular motion of moon around the earth. So Heidegger dealt a lot with time. That is his book. I very much apologize. That was the translator's name. I was thinking that was it. What the hell? That was translated the lectures of the University of Marburg. Being there. Da, D-A-S-E-I-N. That is the most important terminological innovation, is Dasein. So, what is existence? Is it self-evident? I've only got one. Somebody jump in the chat. We're talking about Heidegger tonight. Since we can't go to hang around in cafes and bars and talk about philosophy, come on the YouTube with Stash. Ah! Ah! That's why I wear a hat tonight. I look like shit. Come on, jump in the chat, guys. So if you have something like a pink elephant or a dragon, a dragon is a huge fire-breathing animal. And we understand this through fairy tales as existing, but not really. The dragon fantasy invention is not Dasein. Because it's not an entity which can be felt. The essence of it can't be. It exists in a certain kind of way. Heidegger proposes that being has to be grasped in terms of time. Our sense of what it is to be must depend on temporality. Hey, Pedro, what's up? We're talking about Martin Heidegger tonight. I'm talking to myself about Heidegger. I don't know if you saw the beginning of my thing. I don't know if you are in Martin Heidegger. Time is the horizon for being. Without Dasein, other entities could continue to be, but there would be no one to relate to them as entities. Their being would have no meaning at all. So do fictional dragons exist in terms of Dasein? No. of the dragon in people's minds exists as I just heard this guy today talking about occult stuff, ʻhaɪdɛɡər or whatever. So Heidegger, in looking at the temporality, everything is time. There's a Count Kobayevsky, who I've talked about here before, that the gonzo philosopher and Magnus occultist Anton Wilson, who I'm a huge fan. You can tell I don't really know anything because I constantly refer to guys like him and David Icke. But they're whatever, they get to knowledge anyway. The Sumerian mathematics was based on 12 and 60, not 10. There's a good question there's a good statement from Pedro. I was just reading on here randomly about, because we're talking about time. Heidegger always talked about time, and then the question came up in my notes: who invented the concept of time? Some people say, I think it's mostly stated that we get it from Egypt with the sundial. So the Sumerians are, I think, is that civilization? That's a good question. Are they older than Egypt? If you could put that in the Google for me, Pedro. We are trying to understand the being of existence of Dasein in a particular way of being, unless we already understand being in general. Always guided by prepositions, I have to determine my being. So the question, as a human being that we all face, we have to determine our being. We have to take a stance. We have to take a stance on who I am. Truth teller. Oh, okay, so we got to ask this question then. Sumer is the earliest known civilization in the historical region of southern Mesopotamia. Bronze Ages. Is also one of the first civilizations along with ancient Egypt. So they're comparable. Is Sumer older than Egypt? Which came first, ancient Sumerian or ancient Egypt? Egypt has the same, but it would have come along later. Easy to remember that Akkad was the first empire because Akkad invaded Sumer. Egypt was an empire, but not first. So Sumer had come first. I did suspect that. They're both very old, but the Sumerians are the older, technically. From Truth Teller, 1750 BC, the Sumerians ceased to be. Isn't, what's that? Bruce Campbell. Army of Darkness. Oh, the other one he did when he's in the woods, the Necronomicon. I think it's in Sumerian, but in that movie. But in Lovecraft, it's Abdul Azard. Abdul. From Yemen, right? Very interesting. So the Necronomicon book, which I love, but I have a limited understanding on, because it's fiction, but it's complicated anyway. Would be like that idea of the dragon, right? Like the Necronomicon is funny because it doesn't exist. But if you look at a lot of YouTube videos on occultists, there's more than one of them that use that as a grimoire. So the experience that we have as a simulacra, a lot of experience we have, we go to museums, we see documentaries, we see fictional movies, it's a simulacra. And words, we have words that we use to put them in. Heidegger was into that there's a series of guide words. Or we have one older than them, the Hara, P-I-A-N-S, from Pedro. Even older than the Sumer. The word is something that Heidegger thought as non-discoverable. Grunderschgaf. The essence of Dasein lies in its existence. There's where Heidegger gets dicey. What the hell does he mean by that? He keeps going over and over that. Existence, I want the essence of it. Go deeper. Time, we're binded by time. The profound part of Heidegger, he did contemplate, as far as I know, on the fact that there are some in the life which is time bound for the human. There were some profound moments. There are some profound moments that the human experiences that are incomprehensible and uncanny. Now, does that come with alcohol and weed? I don't think he didn't find that to be the essence. I think he kind of thought that was part of the whole thing, even though it was like, let's get observable, let's get basic, let's get real. He did say that that's part of the whole thing, that the human does feel that drifty feeling of alienation as they sit there and dwell on things. Being in the world is a basic non-cognitive thing, dwelling. But he would always go back to there's not some hidden thing or realm that's beyond our own experience. So he always returns to that. We've got some good info we take a slight break for a second here from Heidegger, from Pedro's excellent Ancient Peoples, as I am a Graham Hancock, Joe Rogan wannabe sometimes. Let's put that in. From Pedro, who are the Hapfrins? I don't know. That doesn't come up. Oh, okay. Did you mean, Pedro, this group? Also, Indus Valley civilization type people? Is that the spelling? Oh, I lost 2 viewers. But he wants to talk about fucking Heidegger. It's in the present-day Pakistani's Punjab province. Very old. very old Indus Valley peoples. One of the three early civilizations of the Near East and South Asia. Or Indus Valley civilization. Is that a city? The large cities? Is this a large city of Hapra? The Indus Valley. Indus Valley civilization known as the Haprian civilization. What is known as the Punjab province of British India is now Pakistan. Good feedback from Pedro. Oh, I dig that. What's this? The megalithic stonework found in Abdeos. Yes. Oh, I was just rapping with some guys. Is there a Stargate there? I like how people bring that up. Stargate. It's interesting. The sacred city of Abdeos. Isn't that one of the oldest? I don't know. That is Egypt, though, right? Pedro, that is Egypt. No, I don't know. Interesting. So it's a city or something, isn't it? The serene spirituality of the Abdeos temple. The Abdeos temple. They've got some fantastic photos of it. The temple. Am I pronouncing it right, Pedro? Or do I got that wrong? Anyway, back to Martin Heidegger. I don't know if Heidegger went into Egypt. I don't think he went out of his rural area of Deutschland. Heidegger is trying to drag being out of obscurity. What is being like in itself? It's the Sumerian Egyptian connection. I'm probably going ass backwards, but we now are 29 minutes in, and we will go into Heidegger briefly, biographically, for anybody who turned this on to get some basic Heidegger. Get your COS headphones on. One of the Reddit stocks was KOSS. Reddit, whatever they call it, I don't know, the GameStop group. Martin Heidegger, born 26 September 1889, died 26 of May 1976. German philosopher who is widely regarded as one of the most important philosophers of the 20th century. He is best known for his contribution to phenomenology, hermeneutics, and existentialism. If you don't know what you're doing and you're a liberal arts major, you raise your hand and you say that's existential. I think that is the thing. Heidegger's fundamental text, Being of Time, Dasein, Dasein, ʻdaɪdɛɡər, is introduced as a term for a specific type of being that humans possess. Dasein has been translated as being there. Heidegger believes that Dasein already has a pre-ontological and non-abstract understanding that shapes our lives. The mode of being he terms as being in the world. Subject of its rationalist. He was in the scope of René Descartes' I think, therefore I am. He approaches the question of the meaning of being, concerned with what makes beings intelligible as beings. Heidegger's later work includes criticism of the view, common in Western tradition, that all of nature is a standing reserve on call, as if it were a part of industrial inventory. Unfortunately, we must reach this part. We've discussed some of his politics. Unfortunately, Heidegger was indeed a member of the Nazi Party. So there is a controversy as to the relationship between his philosophy and his Nazism. Though I think they have recently more or less come to terms with this. And it was discussed with him before his death in the 1970s. His complex yet romantic relationship with Hannah Arendt, Arendt. She is one of the greatest books on totalitarianism. And she was a Jewish woman. I don't know what that means, because he was conflicted. His politics. He certainly was influenced by St. Augustine. And Luther. Martin Luther, the perfect God. He was in favor of reading the classics, so get a deep grip on Aristotle before reading Nietzsche. I did not know he did a lot of work with Islam. Very complex relationship with this National Socialism. It is unfortunate, but as I remember, he had kind of worked that out, I believe. Whereas Oswald Spengler was an aristocrat who wrote Death of the West. He rejected the Nazi Party. Haha, I know, sorry Pedro, this is Heidegger night. I don't know how I got into the Egypt. Oh, because of time. It is commonly thought that the time concept comes from Egypt in their use of the sundial. Martin Heidegger is interesting. Criticism of Heidegger. Very interesting. I will probably go into Heidegger another time. Maybe a Graham Hancock kind of old civilization thing I should do. I don't know. I hope this isn't boring. Oh, I've only got 2 listeners. What happened to Truth Teller? The Sumerians ceased to be in 1750. Again, what we bring from tonight, if anything, is Dasein. Let me see if I'm pronouncing that right again. The German pronunciation must be very important for this word. To be there. Da-sein. Da-sein. Please, everyone say it with me. Da-sein. 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 No. Da-sein. How do you pronounce Dasein? Da-sein. How to say Dasein? Da-sein. Only 2 viewers. I suck. Let's go into Dasein. Da-sein. 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 Da-sein, sometimes spelled as D-A hyphen D-A dash D-A-S-E-I-N. Dasein. Dasein. It's a German word that means being there or presence. Da is there, and sein is to be. Oh. Interesting about the Sumerians calculated the orbit of Nerbu, 10th planet, as being 3,600 years. Perhaps they lived on that planet as 1 year. Oh, that would be like the work of Zachariah Stetchen, right? That's more my realm of the Gonzo history. It's a fundamental concept of existential philosophy of Martin Heidegger. Heidegger used the expression Da-sein to refer to the experience of being that is particular to human beings. Thus, it is a form of being that is aware of and must confront such issues as personhood, mortality, and the dilemma or paradox of living. in a relationship with other humans while being ultimately alone with oneself. Da-sein. 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 Can you hear me? Oh, let's see. In comparison, the faster orbit we have speeds up time. Is that unser body or the world? Heidegger sought to articulate aspects of existence that have never been articulated before. To boldly go where no one has gone before. Dasein. 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 You will learn Dasein. Being there of presence. Da, again, da is there and sein is to be. Often in English, one word, existence. Existence. Why are we here? Tell me. English to German. So existence. Let's see. More to the point. Existence. There you go. When that, you can see how close sometimes the English is to German sometimes. Das Dasein. Existence versus existence. Whereas deep space orbit prolongs genetic material. Primordial temporality. So he was always sought to drag or bring or take out or bring into being. So it is not obscure. So it's a people and existence comes out of obscurity to show itself. Transcends, going beyond, lying beyond. Being lies beyond all entities. Primordial temporality. We can see everything in our society is to go around it. Perhaps the proximity to the sun and tight orbit makes us quicker and get time particles. I don't know. Explain yourself, Pedro. A genetic damage? Temporality. Cyclickeit. Cyclickeit. He's talking about the temporality. Cyclickeit. Temporality is the state of existing within or having some relationship with time. Temporality is distinguished from spiritual and ecclesiastic power of authority, quality of state of being. We are all binded by the time, which again and again Heidegger goes back to that we don't deal with the hidden. It is very interesting. Being, Heidegger proposed, is that being has to be grasped in terms of time, or our sense of what it is to be must depend on the temporality. Time is a horizon of being. I did a book review of the Hole in Caulfield, Catcher in the Rye, and somebody called me a hack. Again, he wants to talk about things that we haven't talked about before in terms of existence that haven't been said. Did he do it? And observation, there's a lot of things about observation. In order to be, it must be observed. Yeah. Found only in encounter. What are you meaning, Pedro, about the proximity to the sun tight orbit ages us quicker? Genetic damage of the sun? Friedrich Hegel, Gottfried Wilhelm. Being time in their time. What time and being time? Dasein. We're boring the shit out of you guys. No wonder I failed every class in school. I am not concerned with school. I am concerned with learning. Let me go into some of the stuff Pedro's talking about in my perspective. The 12th planet. Zacharias Stettin was a man who spoke the language. He was a Sumerian. He was aware of how to speak it. And his most famous book, as far as I know, is The 12th Planet. The Sumerians somehow knew the Earth was the seventh from the sun, or the 12th planet. It feeds into there were extraterrestrial supreme superior beings. Late not what's the one by that guy? Oh God, Ancient Astronauts. I guess it sort of goes in with that. Is there an existence of a the 12th planet brings to life the Sumerian civilization, presenting a millennia-old evidence of the existence of Nerbu. Okay, Pedro's talking about that. The Nerbu would be the home planet of the Anunnaki. So I believe some of this stuff fits into the people are into the Bible as well, and yet mixing in this extraterrestrial theme. Nerbu, I've done a bunch of YouTubes about the planet coming to destroy the Earth way back. And the Planet 9, I think, is the same thing, right? Pedro, is Nerbu Planet 9? Dasein. How does this relate to Heidegger? I don't think he'd like this because it couldn't be grasped outright and observable. Exactly, until the day it comes. Being, S-E-I-N. It is not self-evident. Any of you guys got any comments about my rant tonight? I don't know. That would be, I think, the 12th Planet book. It would be, for reference to what Pedro's talking about tonight. I will put that in here for anybody who gives a shit what we're talking about. The author is Zecharia Sitchin. He has passed away, I believe. And his books were pretty darn big. He was a regular on George Norrie, or the guy before him, Art Bell. The Lost Book of the Anunnaki is a big one by him. But by far the 12th Planet, I think, is his biggie. There are references, I believe, to the Bible. There's such a thing that people are very fascinated with. That people talk about that there were beings that sought. Eric von Dworkin. He might be even bigger than this. The Chariot of the Gods is his big one. He's pretty popular. People may certainly be familiar with him. You can get him on Amazon Prime videos. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Zecharia Sitchin. Oh, Pedro's one of them. Yeah. Chariot of the Gods. Anybody coming to my channel is usually looking for gonzo stuff, so that's what I offer. So you might be, if you're not familiar with Zecharia Sitchin, the 12th Planet, or Eric von Daniken. if you're in the mood for this type of talk, if you've never known what the Anunnaki are, I find that people are into biblical stuff often dwell upon this stuff. Yet I would imagine it reaches into the bounds of blasphemous talk too. I don't know. Chariot of the gods. I think there's some big time YouTubes that associate with discussing these matters. In overall popularity, hard to say. Both of these guys were popular. Eric is still with us, I think. But the Chariots of the Gods is his big one, I think. Anybody coming to this channel to read about Heidegger is probably bullshit that we're going into Eric von Dworkin and the Anunnaki, but whatever. That, again, Heidegger is more of in the realm of I think, therefore I am. Existentialism. So he would not be going into this existentialism. He's ontological studies, his philosophy, metaphysics, huge in the European continent, and exerted an enormous influence on virtually every other humanistic discipline, including literary criticism, hermeneutics, and so forth. Heidegger believes that today's metaphysics in the form of technology and the calculative thinking related to it has become so pervasive that there is no realm of life that is not subject to his dominance. So certainly, if Martin Heidegger was still alive, I am interested as to what he would say about Facebook and Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And I think he was suspicious of technology being too pervasive. Yeah. Well, I hope this was helpful. It's 58 minutes on Heidegger banting. Some of me just reading some basic stuff. Truth Teller, what's up? Are you out there? So, typical of the basis of my channel, it would not be out of the ordinary to start talking about Martin Heidegger and go into Zachariah Stettin, and I can deal with that. I may even this is a long rant. I may not even do another Heidegger. I may just, this might be it. So if you want more on this, then you gotta go on Amazon and rent the great courses, or go to the library and ask them for it or something. Or maybe on a long drive you want to read Being of Time on Audible. Alright, guys. I hope you enjoyed this shit. Heidegger Part 1. Going on 1 hour. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry about Pedro's phone lagging. And good to meet you, Truth Teller. I think that we should do a kind of a Graham Hancock ancient civilization thing on here soon. My first time going without shades. Talking about Heidegger. Related people. He influenced. He had a relationship with Hannah, last name ʻhaɪdɛɡər. Her work on totalitarianism is fantastic. Jean-Paul Sartre, Jacques Derrida, Hans Georg Gadamer, Emmanuel Levinas, Hans Jonas, Herbert Mankius, Leo Strauss, Rudolf Biltzmann, Hans Jonas, Bernhard Stiegler, Kenneth Lewis. He's Jean-Luc Nancy. He influenced many philosophers. Cannot underestimate the contribution of Martin Heidegger. I believe he went through a series of denazification, so don't worry too much about reading him. He was the boyfriend of Hannah. I can never pronounce her name right. Last name ʻArendt. She was also born in Deutschland. She lived in 1975. Right around the time that Martin also passed away. Let me just get the name of that book that I completely recommend by her. God. Forgive me. Origins of Totalitarianism. Published in 1951, a long time after she passed away. She did describe and analyze Nazism and Stalinism as the major totalitarian political movements first half of the 20th century. I will put this, I totally recommend this book. Going to put it in here to people who come into this chat who can't sleep. So why not go to the Barnes & Noble or the Amazon or the library and get The Chariot of Gods by Erich von Däniken, The 12th Planet by Zachariah Stetson, and Origin of Totalitarianism by Hannah. That's her first major work. Oh. Oh, no. She moved to Manhattan. She was an only child. All right, guys. I hope this was sort of interesting. Thank you for being with me on this lonely Friday night. Guten Nacht. Thanks for Pedro on the, what's that group? H-A-R-A-P-P-A-N-S. Abydos, Old City of Egypt. The Sumerians. I hope this was good enough. I'm probably not going to do another Martin Heidegger. I think this is probably as deep as I can go. But if you're a philosophy major, please jump in here and correct anything that I did wrong and recommend some stuff. And I bid you all a good evening. I am going to go back to more my realm of the Eric von Dworkin stuff soon. And thanks for jumping in, Truth Teller, and anybody else. And I really drifted too long, and I'm going to end the stream now, and maybe get on late tomorrow night and talk to you guys. All right, hope everybody's safe, and God bless, and take care. More reading. Everybody needs to read more. I hope my weird notes on this were helpful. I'll leave sources in the liner notes. And yeah, I'm really drifting. Pedro's phone is 8 or 9 minutes behind, and that's all right. All right, Pedro, Rojas Cervantes, and Truth Teller, and anybody else who jumped in tonight. Have a great evening. Auf Wiedersehen.